Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/prorevenge, where we've got stories like where OP got revenge on a racist bully. If you enjoy, like and subscribe below, and maybe check out my links in the description below. Who knows, maybe leave a comment with your thoughts down below. Now, without further ado, let's get started, okay? For our first story, we've got the greatest elementary revenge. I was bullied by these two people who we are going to call Becky and Jake. Now, Becky was more mental. She would say things like, "This is why your father left, you ugly rat. I hope you burn in fire as you should, witch. Go back to hell and maybe they'll want you." Whole John would be more physical and would hit me, pull my hair, or say, "I'd kill you myself if I had your face. Go kill yourself, jump off a cliff, no one will care. I'm going to push you off a cliff." They stopped in 5th grade because I stopped giving them a reaction. But also in 5th grade, I became known as the listener. I would just listen to people's problems and just keep them a secret. I soon realized of the power I had and quickly became a listener for Becky and Jake. During these sessions, I would record the audio on my grandpa's old phone that he doesn't use. Becky had sexual acts and would talk poo about her friends and crushes, and she would also talk about the people she bullies and tell me what she did to them, while Jake had more violent acts, along with some sexual assault ones. They mostly did the same things they did to me when they bullied me. After a while, I got enough and used my grandpa's old phone and phone number and sent Becky's audio of her talking poo about her friends to her friends. Then after that, I sent all the audio clips of both of them onto the school group chats that I joined on fake accounts. Then finally, I sent every single audio clip to the principal and vice principal, then to their teachers. I edited out all the mentions of my name. Then I took out the chip from the phone and broke it. I smashed the phone in the creek by my old school and put it in the stream to be washed away. They both got suspended for 3 months and detention for 5 months. They now seem to do pretty well. No one knew it was me who sent it. I still listen to people's problems and give them advice. I'm also not afraid to do something about it again if they hurt someone else. For our next story, we got lying and using people. I got you. This one needs background to fully understand why I went out of my way for this revenge. My best friend was married for 10 years, with her ex for a total of 13 years. He was absolutely head over heels in love with her, like I've never seen before, which I never understood due to her alcohol abuse. She would take it out on him, and when he'd be venting about it, he'd always fall back on, "It's not her, it's the illness," a very respectable and admirable stance on it. Last year, she asked for a divorce because, after years of what I would call abuse, he had simply run out of gas. Her reasoning for asking for one? When she got fired for testing positive on weed, he wasn't empathetic enough. He admits he wasn't because he had been coming back on one of those drunken tirades where she told him he was a piece of crud who was always trying to control her whenever he tried to get her away from the booze for the way she treated him when she was drunk. It took him forever to move on from this, with the divorce following shortly after. And earlier this year, after thinking he was moving on, he calls me to come over and he's in a bad way. I arrive and he is absolutely fall down levels of drunk, going on that she didn't ask for a divorce for those reasons, that she had really been cheating with several other people. The next morning, he's more coherent. I ask him how he knew. He was cleaning out the spare room and selling/donating stuff he didn't need anymore. when he got to clear out an old tablet she was still logged into, and all of the evidence was there. He gets that out and says he's going back to bed and asks me to lock up when I leave. Before I left, I looked at the tablet. After seeing what I saw, I wanted to find a way to get even with the horrible and conniving woman. So I took pictures of it all and left. When I got home, I started looking up information about these people. Two of them were just normal guys. Whether they knew she was married or not, I don't know. But then the third came along. Well, the third comes up as a registered naughty offender, still on probation for being such a disgusting pile of poop. And the address listed as 123 Lane, City State. Not actually saying the real things here, you dumbass viewer. Como knew that she was married. I immediately knew what I was going to do. Como didn't live at 123 Lane. Como was living with the conniving ex. She made regular posts about their time together. On top of that, she is an avid weed user and has several firearms because she enjoys sports shooting. So I go into the state's naughty offender site and make a report of Como not actually living where he's registered, and that Como is living in a home with what he has no right to, being a convicted felon and on parole. I include screenshots of the social media posts and all to back it up. I was thinking little would happen, but an inconvenience to their lives. Boy, was I wrong. She broke her typical posts with nothing serious trend on social media yesterday with this gem. My year can't get any worse. Como lost his job, and I'm now facing eviction because I can't afford my rent. So I go on the state court system site to see if it's related, and oh boy, yes it was. Como was rearrested. She clearly can't post bail or Como would be out. The job she took after being fired definitely can't support her lifestyle. So he's probably going back to prison, or at least jail, and she's a breath away from being homeless. I don't know if I'd ever tell my best friend I was the one behind this, but he is definitely ecstatic to see a horrible woman and a sewer rat get what they deserve. Part of me wants him to put up the naughty offender registration link and just, it's sitting in jail, and say something to the effect of, it's a little more than losing a job, but not wanting to make my best friend's life harder. I'll just let sleeping dogs lie. Racist bully ruins my life. I annihilated hers. So, the title is self-explanatory, but you'll be surprised. When I was in elementary school, I had a bully. I'll call her Aya because it's the only nice thing I'll ever do for her. It all started in first grade. She was an instant popular girl because she talked about her time in Ghana. She was born and raised there up until she was 4 years old when her parents immigrated to America. And I thought that it was so cool because the only immigrants I've ever known were from Mexico. I'm also Mexican, which is something you need to remember, because we lived in Texas. I asked her what life was like in Africa, and she looked at me and said in a very smug voice, "A lot better than Mexico." I thought that it was weird, but I let it go. We were kids at the time, and I think she just wanted to be cool or something. As the year went on, she always made offhanded comments about me being Mexican, and it was always directed towards me. It wasn't until the second grade when we were just learning this brand new word we've never heard of before. Racism. 7-year-old me at the time, learning this brand new word. Vaguely understood it because my mom taught me the words was derogatory towards us and wanted me to be aware of them. Anyway, we were watching a cartoon about Martin Luther King Jr., and we were at a scene where the protesters were being unjustly arrested. I thought it was cruel and didn't think it was fair. Aya looked at me and shouted, insert slur that I don't want to read here. Like you would never understand. For those who don't know, the word, let's just say it starts with bean and ends in an ER. I'm not going to say anything else on that. It's a slur against Latin people. Sure, it's not as disgusting as the N word, but it's a disgusting word to call people like me. And I've been called that a lot of times back then. I was horrified being called that in the middle of class, and I looked at my teacher, who just shrugged her shoulders and went back to the show. I couldn't believe it. We were learning about the civil rights movement, and I was just called a racial slur in front of everyone. I tried asking my teacher why she didn't say anything, and she just called me a bad word towards me and my ethnicity, and all she did was say, "It's just a word, OP, sticks and stones." I ran home in tears and told my mom everything. She was upset at first, but at the time she told me that I probably didn't know that word was a bad word towards Latin people, and maybe she'll figure it out when she's older, or say sorry the next day. How wrong my mother was. For the next 4 years, Aya would throw racial slurs at me, calling me a slur who eats nothing but beans, or a wetback because I must have crossed the Rio Grande River. I begged her every single time to stop, and I went to my teachers pleading with them for help, but they never did anything. It wasn't just the racial slurs she threw at me. She would insult me for the way I looked, down to my hair, was why I was even bigger compared to the other girls, who were slim. She wasn't a model herself either. Things got worse in 4th grade. I was going through a rough time because my mom was dating a man who drank beer as if prohibition just ended. He also smoked heavily and had the smell will end up on my clothes, which added fuel for Aya's fire. It was a big thing back in the day. Aya would always use me as an example about the dangers of smoking, pointing out how the smell was so bad she constantly plugged up her nose every time she walked by me. It led to rumors of me never taking a bath that followed me up until the end of the grade. At this time, my mom was starting to realize that Aya was not stopping, and she tried contacting the school, but all she would ever get was, "It was just a disagreement between 2 classmates." She wrote notes for me to give to my teachers, but nothing would happen, and in the 5th grade, things really took a bad toll. My grandfather passed away, and his death hurt me so much that even to this day I feel that raw pain of his passing. Words got out to my school, and Aya walked up to me, saying how sorry she was that my grandfather was gone. I naively thought that maybe she would stop being a bully and say sorry for saying the racist things towards me. Nope. "It's sad that he died to get away from you. I would too if I realized my granddaughter was so ugly," Aya said. I broke into tears while she and a few of her friends laughed. And as always, none of my teachers did anything to stop her. I told my mom, who managed to finally get a hold of my teacher and demanded that she do something about her, or else she was going to go up there and make her stop. For the first time in the whole year, the teacher walked up to Aya and told her to stop being so mean to me. A look at her, and she bursts into tears, crying that she was being so mean. "It's because I'm black, isn't it?" Immediately, my stupid teacher backed off. I would go on to use that phrase every single time any of our teachers even attempted to do something. Now, you're probably wondering, how did she ruin my life? Well, I'm getting to it. Things slowly quieted down when I was in 6th grade, but Aya was plotting something. I used to draw anime a lot. I wasn't any good, but I practiced every single day, and slowly my skills were improving. I was drawing the main cast of Sailor Moon during free period, and it was decent for a first-time attempt, apparently. For once, there was no stray pencil marks, and I didn't have to erase as much. I left to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, my drawing was ruined. It had pen marks everywhere, with the words, insert slur here, and wetback in permanent marker all over it. I was devastated and broke down. I worked so hard on that drawing, and it was vandalized with hate. I looked over to a group of desks where Aya was sitting, and I saw her laughing. She and a couple of girlfriends were saying how funny it was that I was crying over a stupid picture, and that I saw that she had a stupid permanent marker on her desk. I marched up to her and yelled at her. I demand to know, what is it about me that she hated so much? Why she was acting like a racist towards me when I did nothing to her? I was crying, I was screaming, and my teacher told both of us to go to the office. I thought we were finally going to solve the issue, but boy was I wrong. My principal looked at the both of us and said I should apologize to Aya. I understandably responded with, "What?" "Apologize for yelling at her. Just because you're upset, overdrawing doesn't mean you have to yell at a classmate for it." "But she ruined my drawing. She wrote slurs all over it." I should point out that she even had permanent marker stains on her hands. "Why aren't you telling her that you don't tolerate racism in this school? Why are you always taking her side?" "I'm not taking sides, young lady, but those are just words, sticks and stones." I honestly didn't know what to feel at that moment. I realized Aya was going to get away with racism, and there was nothing I could do about it. I still refused to apologize, and the principal called my mom, who demanded the principal do something about Aya, but nothing happened, as always. After that incident, Aya was emboldened by the fact she could get away with the bullying and made my life hell. She destroyed me. It was to the point where I could no longer draw again. Even to this day, if I even tried to draw a character I liked, I would just break out down into tears and stop. My mom tried everything. She pleaded, she demanded, and she threatened my school. But the school just brushed it off as overprotective single mom, who just didn't like her overly sensitive child hurt. In my mom's perspective, from what she told me, she watched her happy-go-lucky little girl slowly morph into a sad and combative teenager. I developed a hatred towards my own ethnicity, and I cried that I wished I was white because I hated being called those words, and I hated the way my face looked because I could see my Native American features. That's right, I'm indigenous too. She made me hate myself. It was only after elementary school did the bullying finally stop, because she went to a different junior high school. But just because I was finally able to get away from her, didn't mean the effects of her bullying stopped. I had to go to therapy to get rid of the terrible things she said to me out of my head, and slowly regain myself as a person. My family, who knew about the bullying, gathered around and gave me unconditional love and support, all the while telling me stories of our ancestors who started our family, how they fled Spain during the Texas Revolution. I even went to the tribe I was descended from to help gain a better understanding of my indigenous roots, and they helped me immensely as well. Yeah, Aya and I ended up going to the same high school, but I avoided her like the plague because I wanted nothing to do with her or her BS. Aya was a model student, and during the Black History Month, we used to have an assembly where we talked about the great black figures in history. She would always go on the podium and talk about how proud she was of her race, and that we should embrace everyone of different races, religion, and all that good stuff. It took all of my willpower and constant reminding of myself what happened in elementary school was in the past, and to not laugh and roll my eyes. I thought she was a piece of work. Fast forward to 2021. I was packing up my room because I was getting ready to move some of my stuff to my new house with my then fiancé, now husband. While we were planning our wedding, I was reading a book on my phone when I got a notification from someone I hadn't seen since high school. It was Aya. I'm an adult now, so instead of feeling the terrible anxiety I would always feel whenever I would get a note from her, I just looked at it annoyed and wondered what the hell she wanted, and opened it. Apparently she was hosting our elementary school reunion because the old building was being torn down in place of a new one. She was inviting everyone who went to school there, so we can say goodbye to the old girl. Honestly, I didn't want to go because that school had done nothing but bring me grief and anger. Just driving by it over the years would make my heart pound uncontrollably. I wanted to decline, but I thought to myself, that stupid school will be destroyed. Why not spit on it or something? And then something sparked in my head. This could be my last chance to expose Aya for what she really was. Aya, the no-good racist who takes joy in other people's misery. And it wasn't just me she threw racial slurs at. She was like that to everyone. From the girl who was from Delhi to a Chinese student who ended up transferring to a different school because he couldn't take it anymore. And then the planning began. Having dinner with my mom, I asked her if she remembered the girl who used to bully me. She gripped her fork and said that she did remember, and how much she hated that little female dog. I asked her if she remembered going to the school many times to complain about her, and she said yes, and that she had written down everything that was said. And knowing my mom, she never threw anything away, because it was important documents. I decided to look into her old files, and I found them. It was not only the notes Mom took, but it was also full of the hateful messages Aya wrote to me, even my Sailor Moon drawing that had those terrible racial slurs on it. The terrible feeling of self-hatred and sorrow came back in full. I was close to tears seeing that drawing and those notes. I really wanted to know why she had so much hate in her heart. After calming down, I went to work. I printed copies of the notes, along with a note from my principal which said, "It seems Aya just called OP nasty words based on her ethnicity," and it was even signed by the principal, which proved two things. Aya was a racist, and that the school knew but refused to do anything. And here is the revenge. The little party was basically a barbecue on the school playground. I showed up in casual clothing and saw my old classmates for the first time in years. To say the least, I was the only one who still looked fresh-faced and not worn down by parenthood. I did catch up to a few of them. Most were actually Aya's victims, but unlike me, they ignored her when she would bully them. Looking around, I actually saw some members of the local equal rights group. I assume she invited them because Aya made a name for herself over the years since graduation. It almost made me feel sorry for what I was about to do. And when I mean almost, I mean never. The little barbecue went by so smoothly, and Aya was talking about the beautiful memories she had at her old school, and that she was so thankful that they welcomed her with open arms because she was an immigrant from so far away, and that she was worried about not being able to belong. I remembered how proud she was when she first walked in our class. No fear at all. After her passionate farewell speech, everyone in our class took turns saying their own farewells. They half-assed their speeches, and some just said that the school was awesome. And when it was my turn, I looked around and saw everyone staring at me. Aya's just standing there with a confident smile on her face, as if she thought that I was so beaten down, I would just say whatever with the school and that's it. But nope. Over the years since graduation, I sort of developed I don't give a frick attitude. I say what I say, and I will do a microphone drop if I have to. I talked about how I was so nervous going to the school because it was something new, and I knew it would lead me to a path of adulthood. I talked about how this damn school had brought me nothing but nightmares, horrible teachers, and a terrible student who bullied me so much that my poor mother had to spend thousands of dollars of her life savings just to give me the therapy I needed because I could not function well. I then looked at Aya and said that she was a prime example of the American dream, an immigrant who worked tirelessly to make it in this complicated country. I then said in the same smug tone of voice she had 20 years ago, "I'm so glad you grew out of your racism." And with that, I stood up and left. And remember what I said about those notes my mom kept? Well, I sent them to that local group anonymously and told them that their star volunteer was not who she was. I just thought that'd be the end of it, but I did not know the absolute shitstorm I caused. Aya's reputation was destroyed. When the leader of the group saw the notes, he was livid. He immediately told her that she was no longer welcomed, and said that she was a terrible example for the people they were helping. Her fiancé dumped her. She lost her job, and as it turns out, her parents never knew of the bullying. I guess my principal decided that it wasn't worth calling them years ago. They were angry with her and demanded to know where did she get this attitude from. Because from when I found out her father works in a business that required them to travel to and from Ghana, and he worked with so many interesting people. On top of that, my former principal apparently lost the special award she got for her contributions to our school district. And when the superintendent happened to get an envelope containing my mother's notes, he was just as livid. I got an apology from the school district, along with other victims via. They accepted that just to get it over with, but I've politely refused, saying that it was too little too late. I did get comments from my former classmates saying that I should have let it all go, but here's the thing, I did get over it. I wanted nothing more than to just close that chapter in my life and move on. But seeing her name in that email triggered something in me. And knowing that she was running around saying things which were the opposite of what she really believed, I wanted her to feel broken in the same way as I felt. My mom was neutral about it. I don't resent her because she did everything she possibly could to stop the bullying. I'm thankful for that because in some stories I've seen on Reddit about people being bullied, the parents do absolutely nothing. I'm in a much better place now. I moved out of state after I got married, and I'm happy. Aya has attempted to contact me, demanding I apologize for ruining her life, but I just ignored her and blocked her. I wish I knew why she had so much hatred. I was never rude to her. I thought she was cool, that I wish I could draw again, because it was my only escape from a troubled life I had, aside from the bullying. I'm just glad I was able to regain my love for who I am as a person, of Mexican descent and indigenous background, because she really made me feel worthless for it. And that's the story of how I ruined my racist bully. With the plot twist was that she was black and I was Mexican. Sure, the words she said were possibly just words, but those words were really derogatory to me and so many other people of my ethnicity. It's just as degrading as being called an N-word to a black person. And it also shows that even black people can be the worst racists. I'm not saying that all black people are racist, because I've met amazing black people in my lifetime who truly believe in racial equality. I wanted to keep this to myself, but after seeing the terrible attacks on Asian Americans since this stupid pandemic happened, I noticed that it was sparking a big debate on who should be charged with hate crime. We're still not there yet when it comes to truly being equal, regardless of race, gender, religion, and orientation. But little by little, we're becoming a bit better. Not by much, but by a little bit. Sorry for the long post, I just wanted to get this off my chest. And please don't make comments into a debate. I'm really not trying to start anything. I just wanted to tell how I finally got my revenge. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Drop your thoughts down below. Just keep it civil, please. I know that last story was a bit of a trigger for some. Just keep it civil. like and subscribe, and check out my links in the description below, and I'll see you next time.